Let's bring in Al Michaels, the Hall of Famer, Thursday Night Football on Prime. Look at you with your L.A. Kings hat. All right.
It's hockey season.
Yes.
Come on.
Okay.
We have Panarin. We have Panarin now from the Rangers. So here we go. But we lost Fiala in the Olympics. But that's all the NHL talk. Let's go to the Olympics.
Okay. Let me ask you the poll question. Would you rather win the Olympic gold or Stanley Cup?
I'd probably rather win the Olympic gold, but if I was Ken Morrow, I might take the 4 Stanley Cups that he won with the New York Islanders in the wake of his gold medal in Lake Placid. But I mean, there's nothing like an Olympic gold medal. That's got to be at the very top.
You know, the first professional hockey game I saw in person was Ken Morrow's goal at Madison Square Garden. And my producer, who is from New York, says, just to let you know, not all hockey games are like this.
No, they're not. You know, I was thinking last night, Dan, is hockey the only sport where at the end of the game, the fans are more exhausted than the players? I mean, and also I keep thinking, Jason Gay had a fantastic column in the Wall Street Journal, a number of them, past couple of days. But the other day he described hockey as croquet for people who like running on the tops of speeding trains. It's perfect.
Going to take a little while to visualize that. But, you know,
there you go.
But of all the sports, hockey always delivers more consistently than the other sports when it comes to a big game. Game 7, playoff hockey. It's just there is something about it that's different than every other sport.
Especially when it ends at like 1:40 in the morning. We've seen a few of those games. Yeah. It's phenomenal. The other thing about hockey is that it's so continuous. I mean, I was texting with Doc Rivers, my old NBA partner and the Milwaukee coach, yesterday, and I'm going, is anything better than hockey? And he goes, well, the NBA. I said, Doc, the last 2 minutes of a hockey game can take 2 minutes. The last 2 minutes of an NBA game, you need a calendar. He said, I know. And I talk to Adam about it all the time. They got to fix that.
Did you do play-by-play at all when you were watching yesterday?
Not really. I just enjoyed the game, sitting back and, being a fan. It's the edge of the seat. I think Kenny did a tremendous job, Kenny Albert, and Eddie Olczyk is phenomenal. Eddie's the best. What did Eddie say yesterday, when Brad Marchand, who gets in the face of the American team right in front of the bench, and Eddie was talking about how much Brad likes to talk, and he said he can talk a stamp off an envelope, which was a phenomenal line. Just great.
It doesn't seem like it was 46 years ago that you gave us Miracle on Ice.
No way, man. No way. But it's it comes and it goes. I mean, the story is still great. People still love the story. It'll resonate, for the rest of my life, clearly, and a lot of other people's lives. But it was just, it could not be replicated. You know that, because that game was so much more than a hockey game. You needed to know nothing at all about hockey or care about hockey. That was all about us and our arch enemy. And we're actually playing with amateurs, and they're playing with, in effect, professionals in our, home country, in a game where somebody asked me what, DraftKings might have had that game at back in 1980, 50-1, 60-1, you name it. It was a massive upset, massive.
But the fact that it wasn't for the gold and the amount of pressure that was now on Team USA, that you can't come this far and you don't win the gold medal. But can you remember what that feeling was like, or what these players talked about?
Well, I remember vividly in the next game against Finland, Sunday morning in Lake Placid, they were down 2-1, end of the second period. And that's the famous Herb Brooks quote before they took the ice in the third period. If you lose this game, you'll take it to your effing grave. And he said it again. And the boys basically said Herb Brooks never swore, but that was the one time he swore. And if you think about something that rang so true. If those guys had gone through the rest of their lives and had lost the game to Finland, people would go, now let me get this straight. You beat the Soviets and you lost to Finland? So, they came back and won the game. They had to kill a penalty toward the end of the third period, leading 3-2, and got a shorthanded goal. So that was gigantic. People, forget in those years it wasn't like it is now, where you have a semifinal game and then the final. They had a round robin. We played the Soviets on Friday, Finland on Sunday, and here we go, 46 years later.
But what would that have done to your call if they don't win the gold medal?
Do you believe in debacles? I think that's what the Soviet announcer must have said at the end of the
Oh
Friday
my
night
God.
game. Oh, think about that. I don't even want to think about that. None of those guys do. Oh, that would have been just horrendous.
Yeah.
Horrendous.
Yeah. Did you have a backup call for Do You Believe in
No,
Miracles? Okay.
Dan, I walked over to the arena with the great late Ken Dryden that day, and I said to him, I said, Kenny, we can only hope to keep an audience that the game is something like 3-1, no worse than 3-1, middle of the second period. Otherwise, knowing Roone Arledge running ABC Sports in those days, he would have brought you, women's ordinals or something, or ski flying or something, or ski jumping. They would have cut away from our game. So I had there was no chance the U.S. could win that game. None. Kenny and I had been out to the Soviet Union. He played against them. We saw them. We weren't a match for them. So when that game, is 1-1, 2-2, 3-2 Soviets, then we get a tying goal. Then Eruzione scores at the 10-minute mark of the. Now it's like, whoa. So I'm not thinking about anything to say at the end of the game, because this is so crazy. This can't be happening. But at the end of the game, remember, the Soviets were putting intense pressure on the U.S., and I'm just calling the game, because that game could have ended with a goal by the Soviets or a great save by Jim Cray. So I don't have, in my mind, I can't think of something to say, because I'm going to call that game right to the very end. And I got very lucky when the puck came out to center ice with about 5 seconds to play. And now I knew the Soviets couldn't mount another attack. And the word that came into my head was miraculous. It got morphed into a question and an answer. I had no idea of the impact of what I said, or even what I said at the end of the game. I was working in such an intense state of concentration. But here we are. It's, I guess it put a pretty good coat on the game.
Did you ever hear the Soviets call?
Well, that might have been the debacle call. No, I never heard that call.
Yeah,
No,
I haven't either. I'm
no.
curious, though, how that, because of the importance of hockey, and
Yeah,
you're a hockey power, and,
sure.
people pay a price in some of these countries when they disappoint. And I'd be curious how the
Yeah,
Russian announcer called that.
I think he had to be stunned. First of all, they never lost. So people also forget that the Soviets, down by a goal and putting the pressure on in the American end, never even pulled the goalie, because they probably never practiced it.
Oh, well.
They don't lose.
Yeah.
So they could have had a 6-on-5 at the end of the game. But what, Dan, so many things I'm thinking about this morning too. So when I'm a kid in the 50s and 60s in New York, and I loved the Rangers, and in the NHL in those years, there were like 2 or 3 or 4 guys born in America. And in 1980, I think I looked it up, there were like 8% of the rosters were American born. Now it's 30%. So what 80 did, and I think what yesterday did, is it makes kids more excited. More kids are going to play hockey now because of what took place yesterday. Wow, look at this. And they play it all around the country now. And again, when I was a kid, the number one draft choice in the NHL would always be a kid born in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, or in northern Manitoba. But one of the seminal moments to me was the American captain, Austin Matthews, who was drafted number one by the Toronto Maple Leafs about 10 years ago, and played extremely well in the Olympics. Austin Matthews grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah.
Not Moose. It's a long way from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. So that's where the sport of hockey is coming. It's great.
We're talking to Al Michaels. Al Michaels, the Hall of Famer. It's almost like what the Dream Team did to the rest of the basketball world, maybe the 1980 Olympic hockey team, what that did to U.S. hockey.
Oh, for sure. No question. Because, I mean, even Jeremy Roenick, who went into the Hall of Fame, had a great NHL career. Jeremy said that he would watch that tape and that would inspire him to play hockey and be a great hockey player. And I'm sure he's not alone in that regard. So there's no question that in 1980 that made a lot of kids more interested in playing. I thought HBO did a fantastic documentary in 2001 that helped. Miracle came out in 2004 with Kurt Russell. That certainly helped because all the kids have now seen that. And now, well, you have. Well, by the way, Netflix has a documentary which has been out about 2 weeks called
Yeah.
Miracle of the Boys of '80, which is phenomenal. They brought all the guys back to Lake Placid, 4.5 decades later. And, you see parts of the game, obviously, but you hear about those guys and their lives and what that meant to them. It's a phenomenal documentary, Netflix.
Did you save notes from the Miracle on Ice?
I I think I have some in a folder, probably in a storage bin or something, but I didn't have that many notes. I just you did it on the fly. So and we were doing a lot of games, so I had to know all of those other teams too: Norway, Sweden, Czechoslovakia, who we beat in that game. But I had done, and people said, "Well, how did you get all those names down?" I said, "Hold on a second. I started my career in Hawaii doing a number of sports, including high school basketball, where if you had five Samoans on a fast break and the ball is loose and it's going back." I said, "Believe me, that paid off in the Adirondacks for me."
How many more hockey games did you do after the '80 Olympics?
After the '80 Olympics, I did the '84 Olympics. We did, but our team wasn't very good. So Kenny Dryden and I did those games, but they would, come to us for like 15 minutes at a clip because we were always losing. And then in '88, I did them again in Calgary, but we weren't very good. So it bore no semblance to Lake Placid. And then when ABC got the NHL rights in the mid '90s, Dennis Swanson asked me to do a couple of games. So I did two Kings Calgary playoff games, I think in '93. And then I wanted to do Wayne Gretzky before he retired. So the Kings were playing in Chicago. I always wanted to do a game at Chicago Stadium, and that's it. That's it. So I've done a handful of games, but I love hockey, and I'll be there. I want to see Connor McDavid in person, so that's Thursday night, Edmonton at the Kings. I'll be there.
How many hockey games had you done prior to the '80 Olympics?
One. 1972. I think I've told you this story about I'm on a staff. Remember, I'm the kid on the staff. It's Mount Rushmore. Howard Cosell, Jim McKay, Keith Jackson, Frank Gifford, Bill Fleming. I'm the kid. So what am I? I wanted speed skating because Eric Heiden was going to be the big star, and he did win the 5 gold medals. But they gave that to Keith Jackson, and they gave me hockey. And I said, I'm thinking Winter Olympics. It's always good to have an indoor sport, right, for starters. So, and I loved hockey, and I was the one guy on that staff. Nobody else had done a game. I had done one game, and I knew what icing and offside were. And that's how I wound up getting that assignment at Lake Placid. How nuts is that?
Would you rather be Mike Eruzione or Jack Hughes?
Oh, it's interesting. Well, this morning, probably Jack Hughes.
Yeah.
But over the course of time, Mike Eruzione. I heard you before. You guys have a poll going on where you'd rather be Hughes, me, or Kurt Russell?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take whatever votes I get, and I'm going to apportion them to Eruzione, Craig, and Herb Brooks.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
If elected, I will not serve. What can I tell you?
And Jack Hughes probably doesn't even realize how big this is. This is one of those viral moments. This is forever. That look, his teeth being chipped, draped
Fabulous.
in the flag. Your brother's there. The Goudreau moment. It was movie like.
The interview with Catherine Tappan. How was that? How great is that? At a time when so much is politicized and people are going this way and that way, and a lot of people are going, I don't want to hear that. And what Jack Hughes said at the end of the game, I thought was phenomenal. Couldn't have scripted that. How much it meant to him, how much it meant to being a part of this country and the affiliation that he has, and what it means. It was. I mean, you're right. You couldn't have put that in a movie. But the question now is, does Kurt Russell? Does he play Mike Sullivan in the next movie or what? This thing goes on, doesn't
Yeah, it does.
it? Yeah,
46 years ago.
46.
Damn.
Holy whoa. Yay, yay, yay. It's insane. Everything's 46 years ago to me now. It's wild.
Yeah.
You and I, of course, we live our love of Johnny Bench, and I announced, for the Reds, and you were such a fan. So this year, this past baseball season, there was a game that had ended on catcher's interference 54 years ago. And I'm going, wow, that's a long time ago. Maybe, Bill Dickey played in the game or something. And I looked it up and I said, wait a minute, I did that game. And Johnny was the guy. 1971, Reds at Dodgers. That's the game. I called you and I said, Johnny, this is insanity.
I couldn't help but think
I'm
about how
telling you.
close Canada came to winning yesterday and how close Toronto came to winning the World Series.
No question. Yeah. And think about, how close Seattle came to advancing in baseball, right? And what a tough loss that was for the Mariners. And then at least, the Seahawks were
Yeah.
able to get their championship. But I mean, but it's hockey. And it's like I say, you're exhausted because you almost score. They almost score. And this goes on for 60 minutes of action. So, and then the double post, and I'm thinking that, Kenny or Eddie could have called it, what Chris Collinsworth called the Cody Parkey field goal attempt. That was a double doink yesterday. That could have won the game. That's
Uh,
sports. That's why we love sports, right, Dan?
are you playing golf today?
Course is closed. You want to talk to the groundskeeper? It's Monday. It's Monday. I'm not happy. First of all, what do I need to? My list of swing thoughts, right? So I showed it to
Yes.
Rory Mac. I showed it to Rory McIlroy a couple of years ago. He goes, "What?"
I told you it's Johnny
Johnny
Miller.
Miller.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. 4 syllables, right? Johnny
Johnny
Miller.
Miller.
But the problem I have is I go back, Johnny.
Johnny
Can't
Mo.
help myself.
Johnny Mo. Yeah.
Johnny Miller.
Thank you for sharing as always.
Oh, Danny, anytime. Every 46 years we'll do this. Come on.
We'll try.
You know that.
Thank you, bud. That's Al Michaels, the Hall of Famer, Thursday Night Football voice as well. Take a break. Last call for phone calls. What we learn, what's in store tomorrow, right after this.